Moving on to the next session, it is on latex allergy. The speaker is none other than Dr. Sanjeev Handa. The chairpersons, I would like to invite Dr. Manisha Nijhawan and Dr. Ram Singh Meena, sir. Dr. Manisha Nijhawan ma'am is the professor and head of the department at Mahatma Gandhi Medical College, Jaipur. She's done her MD and MBBS from SMS Medical College, Jaipur. She has a teaching experience of more than 20 years and more than 32 publications in esteemed journals. Dr. Ram Singh Meena sir is senior professor at the Department of Skin in SMS Medical College, Jaipur, with more than 20 publications in both national and international journals. I would like to request ma'am and sir to please invite Dr. Sanjeev Handa sir.
Good morning all. Welcome to this hybrid conference, and this is the first time we are meeting after COVID. And today I would like to really thank Dr. Handa, who has come all the way from Chandigarh for delivering the talk. I think we should give him a big hand of applause. He doesn't need any introduction. He is head of the department of PGI, and he'll be delivering a talk on latex allergy. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I think I would like to thank Dr. Dinesh Mathur for taking this call of holding this conference. He discussed with me what do we do about the COTFI conference. I said, sir, the best way is we hold a hybrid mode. And he said, will you come? I said, sure. I had some problem in booking my tickets. I said, sir, the flight which I am shown is via Delhi, taking 21 hours to reach Jaipur. He said, don't worry, we'll sort it out. And so I'm here with you today. Well, friends, let me tell you that this topic is an unusual area. And I took this up to sensitize all of you to latex allergy. It does not fit classically with our impression of allergic contact dermatitis as we are used to. But I think it's a very, very important topic from the point of view of us being dermatologists. So what is latex? First and foremost, we need to know that. Most of us know that yes, it is the natural rubber, and it is derived from a tree known as Hevea brasiliensis. And latex we encounter in practically so many items in our life, but two which are very important to our profession are important. That is, one is gloves and household items. Out of household items, there are so many. There is no need to name any. But for the pediatric age group, another thing becomes important, that is balloons. The process of manufacturing of rubber involves actually treating the natural rubber latex with certain chemicals, and the chemicals are known as accelerators, and the finished item is what we generally use. So the natural rubber latex is actually containing several proteins as well as the accelerators. These proteins may be to the tune of around 250 and maybe more. So why do we need to study about latex allergy? Well, exposure to latex products may sensitize human body, yes, but it can also cause serious reactions and even anaphylaxis and death. That is why there is need to know about latex allergy. This is unlike other allergies where we have a rash or an eczema but we do not have death. And it's very important to identify the high risk groups. A little about history of latex allergy. How did it actually all begin? Well, rubber gloves have been introduced in surgery way back in 1890. But the first reported case of probably apparent allergic reaction to latex was with a dental plate, reported in 1927, and then subsequently in 1933, and then people came to know about the immediate type allergic reactions in 1979. What is the current prevalence, some of you may ask? Well, current prevalence is surprisingly quite high. I have put in blocks the data which you need to know. And basically it says that the average prevalence of latex allergy worldwide remains 9.7%. That's a huge number. 7.2% and 4.3%. The groups in which it occurs is 9.7% in healthcare workers, 7.2% in susceptible patients. That's a big number again, and 4.3% in the general population. Then we need to differentiate between latex sensitivity and latex allergy. Sensitivity, we all know. Many people are sensitive to many things, but they may not manifest with a reaction. So sensitivity basically denotes the development of an immunologic memory. It may not have any other connotation beyond that. But allergy is when you demonstrate an outward expression of the disease. It may be in the form of urticaria, rhinitis, or anaphylaxis. Remember, latex is present everywhere. It's a ubiquitous material. So the shoes that all of us are wearing now, many of you have watches on your arms. Many of you have some device or something which may be having latex as a component. So be careful. Why latex allergy has become more common? Well, the basic reason is we must understand that in medical practice we are always told that you should be either gloved or you should be using your hand disinfectants again and again. And if we consider that the first time what happened was in 1987, the CDC became very cautious about universal precautions and started advising the use of gloves. And in 1992, they actually came out with an occupational safety and health, the administration department came out with an act. And then there were episodes like the HIV pandemic, then there were episodes like now Corona. So you can imagine how gloves came to be used more and more, and why the prevalence seems to be increasing. So there has been actually an exponential rise in the natural rubber latex gloves and their use amongst healthcare workers, and that is what you see. This is two common gloves which we see. The one on the right, the dark colored one, you may not see. That is non-powdered, but the left one, the powdered latex gloves, you see those boxes lying in all OPDs. And the powdered gloves have another issue. They've added another component to it, that is the powder. So that adds on to the problem, and this aerosolized powder has been known to cause not only respiratory allergic problems, but also granuloma formation and peritoneal adhesions in people who are undergoing laparotomies and cut surgeries. Then with dermatologists, there is a peculiar issue. I was just discussing it with Ram a couple of minutes back. We see so much of hand eczema, and we often tell people that, okay, you use gloves. There the use of rubber gloves may be adding on to their problem. You may actually be creating latex sensitivity as well, remember. So you have to be careful. If required, ask them to use cotton gloves below and then rubber gloves on top. So hand eczema is a big issue with us, and that's true for healthcare workers, metal workers, machine operators, food handlers. The list is long. And wet work and hand eczema in healthcare workers is something which we are well aware of. This is just an abstract of the same. I needn't highlight this, but this just tells us two things. If you are able to read the last two lines, which I will read out for you, hand washing with soap and the use of disposable gloves were associated with the occurrence of self-reported hand eczema in a dose-dependent way. These were the main findings of this study, which came in the British Journal of Dermatology in 2018. Now this tells you that we have a practical problem in practically every hospital. You can't do without hand washing and you can't do without glove use. There are hospitals which are trying to encourage people to use disinfectants without encouraging too much of hand washing because of this reason, because it causes the hand eczema. Now the important area for us as dermatologists is trying to understand what actually happens with latex allergy. So we need to identify the antigen or the allergen, if we are able to call it that, in this particular situation. Well, there are 15 different latex protein antigens, and they are characterized as Hep-B 1 to 15. Of these, the more important ones are the prohevine, which is a sort of a precursor protein, the rubber elongation factor or Hep-B1, and hevamine. And there are a couple of others, which the ones which I have highlighted in yellow are for my young postgraduate friends to read and know. What we need to know is that the Hep-B 6.01 or prohevine, as I said, is cleaved naturally, and it further gives you the N-terminal protein and the C-terminal protein, which are basically the other components 602 and 603. and these all three are allergenic or antigenic. So what do we see with latex allergy? Well, with latex allergy, we basically see two types of problems. One is the type 1 hypersensitivity, and we also see what we are more accustomed to, the type 4 hypersensitivity. The type 4 hypersensitivity, mind you, occurs mostly because of the chemical additives. The type 1 hypersensitivity is due to the natural latex proteins, which are basically the peptides. In type 1 hypersensitivity, we all know, basically we have a basic immediate type of reaction. So this presents with urticaria, which may be localized contact urticaria, localized to the hands to begin with, and then tends to become generalized and may involve the face, the eyes, even the mucosal surfaces. And rarely anaphylaxis and death may occur. And in the type 4 delayed type of hypersensitivity, we have the chemicals of which you are well familiar with the names of thioram and carbamate, which are the reason why we get type 4 type of hypersensitivity with rubber. So how are patients exposed to latex? One, we know day-to-day activities, that is direct skin contact. Less commonly known is airborne latex exposure. That's another area how we can go to, get latex sensitivity. And the third is through foods and certain medicines which may contain latex allergens. And then lastly, a very important area is certain fruit allergens, of which important are banana, kiwi, pineapple. So those of you who have some issues with these fruits should be aware of the fact, or if your patients have this, that they may be having some sort of latex allergy. The other fruits, the list is long, papaya and including chestnut. So there are certain nuts also which are included in latex allergy. Then what are the triggering latex products? Well, in the pediatric age group, I told you right in the beginning, balloons, but you do not forget the pacifiers, the bottle nipples, they are all made of rubber. So that is where the exposure starts. Then in dental procedures, the dental dams, the orthodontic elastics. My son, he is just finished his MBBS, is still using those dental rubber bands to retain his procedure in place and the teeth in place. So I'm just telling you, and he started it way back when he was a child, 8 years old. So it's been almost 13, 14 years now since he's been using those in his oral cavity. And you can imagine the ingestion which occurs with those rubber material. Then I told you about latex gloves. Can you imagine a surgery or a medical emergency or a ward without urinary catheters, catheters for enema, nasogastric tubes, or even our adhesive bandages? So they all contain rubber somewhere along the line. Those stretchable bandages which we give, at least in dermatosurgery, many of you may be using it. Please remember all that elastic component which is there. Think, does this contain rubber? Then there are certain groups of patients which are at risk. These are those patients who have had either multiple surgeries. Most important among them, reported all over the world, is patients with spina bifida, or who have had multiple corrective surgeries. Then occupational exposure, I already told you that atopic individuals, they are more predisposed to hand eczema, they are more often advised to the use of rubber gloves. So that's another group of patients that you have to be careful about. And I of course told you about the food allergens. How do we diagnose latex allergy? Well, latex allergy, clinical and history. That's important. In clinical urticaria, when you cannot find any cause, just think, could it be something to do with latex? If you have a suspicion, your index of suspicion needs to be high. That's the precise reason why I included this talk today. And the other diagnostic area is in vitro tests, where you test a patient for specific IgE against latex. And then the skin prick test is actually the test for latex. Some of you may ask, sir, we do not have the allergens for testing for skin prick test. It's not easy. I just have in the next slide a way that you can do it, even if you don't have. No doubt that's a non-standardized method, I will admit, because standardized allergens available for skin prick tests is another issue altogether. Whenever you do skin prick tests, sometimes it's best to use fresh allergens. We all know that. So in this as well. Patients with symptoms suggestive of latex allergy may sometimes need a latex challenge, but remember, that can be a dicey affair, so be careful. So I was telling you about testing for latex, the skin prick test. The easiest is you cut small pieces of your glove and put them in 5 ml of sterile saline and keep shaking it. You are trying to remove some of the allergenic component into that saline solution and use it after a 2-hour period like any others for doing a skin prick test. You may get a positive reaction with that. And use a fresh supply every time. And measuring circulating IgE antibodies, mind you, provides a objective assessment. Remember, if you have high levels like more than 5,000 the King units per liter, be very careful of anaphylactic reactions if the patient is getting exposed to latex in any way. Management, the best management we all learn in COD-FEE day in and day out is avoidance. Easier said than done, especially for latex. You just can't avoid latex. The shoes that all of us are wearing, your mobike, I told you, handles, your steering, everything. So the exposure is endless. What's more important is identifying sensitized people, elimination of donning powder, introduction of synthetic rubbers, education of the public, and if you can, using slightly more expensive alternatives to latex, which are nitrile, the blue gloves that some of you may have seen, and vinyl. The goals of therapy, of course, are prevent initial sensitization and prevent reaction if a patient is already sensitized. In 1988, FDA started warning statements on latex products. In India, that doesn't happen. And as recently as 2017, they banned powdered surgeon's gloves. So this was a US FDA decision. Labeling is very important. Latex items should be labeled as containing latex, and suitable alternatives, if can be suggested, this list gives you that. For example, adhesive bandages, the non-latex item there is sterile dressing with plastic tape. I just had a word with Ram Gulati where he says he had a patient presenting with condom-related latex allergy, and he advised a latex-free condom. So that's what has to come to your mind, that you cannot, there is no way that you can keep continuing using latex. The types of gloves, I told you the names, nitrile and vinyl. Nitrile are definitely much better, definitely less elastic than the latex gloves. Then a word about management of latex allergic employees. Remember, we have to create a latex safe environment. That's important for them. So their identification becomes important. And for the other postgraduate students, there is a pre-operative assessment of latex allergy patients, which involves those points in the history, like watch for patients that have problems with. What do you watch for? Blowing up of latex balloons. Do people get a lip swelling after that? Wearing rubber bands, dentist issues, condom use issues, diaphragm issues, adhesive bandage tape issues, and of course fruit allergies like banana. And then in the management of latex allergic patient, the mantra is create a latex safe environment. How do you do that? ID bands. So on the hospital wards, flag charts, labeling on patients' beds, a latex sensitive patient. Mind you, this may seem easy, it is not. First identifying and then labeling. It's easier said than done, but it's important. You may save a patient's life. These are latest sensitivity protocols, essentially the same information, but in a tabulated form for those of you who may be interested in a more comprehensive list. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening session on latex allergy.